Well, free agency is underway and the draft has concluded, so it's time for the big episode 20 of the Before the Buzzer podcast. I'm Adam Cunin, joined by the boys Alex and today Casey joining in place of Cheyenne. So, gonna get some thoughts from a Clippers fan here after a busy couple of days for the Clippers. But we got to start with the draft. Alex, I didn't even ask how you're doing, but how are you doing? And then thoughts
I'm
on
good.
your team's draft.
I'm good. Spurs fan. So it was a good draft, I think. Trade Dillingham was a bit of a weird decision. But I think you're kind of banking on Minnesota not really like succeeding or like having some weird stretches because I think it's a good decision because Dillingham like I'm okay with the trade, but I wish we had kept Dillingham because I was very excited if we had gone Dillingham and Castle in the same draft class. That really could have been like, especially with Chris Paul, who just signed like yesterday. That would have been an insane kind of backcourt that we're putting alongside Wemby. But yeah, I'm a fan. I'm okay with the draft. I like Castle. I saw him at UConn. I'm a UConn fan. I was very impressed with him. He just wins. He's just a winner. He makes the little things happen. I think compared to like Drew Holiday, Andre Iguodala, like guys like that. And I think if we can put that next to Wemby, that's great. And I'm a fan of it, and I'm a fan of the Spurs move so far.
A move we'll get to later, also in free agency, bringing in Chris Paul. Casey,
Yeah.
your team very busy in free agency. Maybe not too busy with Paul George, but busy picking up other players. Thoughts on the draft, and don't go too into depth with the free agency because we'll get to it later. But just overall feeling as a Clippers fan right now.
Um, let's just say it's been eventful past week, past few days. One of our best players, as you know, Paul George, always makes these promises like, "Oh, I'm going to bring a championship. I'm not staying. I'm going to stay." Like every time, never happens. Um, I like their signings though. There's some I like. There's some I don't like, and they're definitely not done. They definitely have more signings to come, and that's all I have to say.
Do you think they're
All
going to
right.
compete, Casey?
Huh?
Do you think they're going to be able to compete in the near future, Casey?
Of course.
Why?
Spoken like a
We'll
true
talk about that
fan.
later. We'll talk
We'll
about that
talk
later.
about that later. He's trained
All right.
too. All right,
Go off,
Alex.
Queen.
Well, let's start with the draft. Shout out Alex actually live stream like the first couple of picks of the draft
Yeah,
on
I
Instagram.
just could. There's nobody there. I
We
just
had
couldn't keep
we had
justify using
limitations
myself.
though. We had limitations on the stream, but anyways.
It's a shame.
Um,
Hey, big up the TikTok. We got to get more followers on the TikToks, and I can do it on TikTok live.
anyways, you were there watching the draft in the stream. Zachary Ricochet, still don't know if I pronounce his name right, taken number one overall. Your thoughts on the Hawks move and pretty eventful couple of days for the Hawks. They also sent DeJounte Murray out to New Orleans. What do you make of that draft pick and the moves that they've made in the past couple of days?
I'm a fan of the. I'm not a fan of the pick. I'm a fan of the trade for Dejounte, just getting him out of there. I think that's fine. I'll get back to that in a second. But Ricochet, it's a bad pick for a variety of reasons, in my opinion, because you're banking on a guy who has like a medium floor and a low ceiling. Like people say he's a high floor, low ceiling guy. I think it's a medium floor because I don't know how the defense is going to translate. And I think if the shooting doesn't translate, which it might not, we don't know yet with him. Like he's kind of hit or miss. Like what does he even bring? Because he's defensively, he's a short wingspan. He's 6'8", but he doesn't move amazingly. He has small hands. He screams bust to me. Like I was getting to the point where it
You're
was
kind of
like
describing him like Kwame Brown. Doesn't have a post
exactly,
game.
yeah.
Offense.
Exactly. He doesn't really have an offensive
I
game. He
mean,
doesn't really score off the dribble. He doesn't really. He can't really create his own shot. He can hit threes, but can he really hit it at an NBA level or at like a 40 to 45% clip, which you would probably want if you're taking a guy first overall and his only skill is shooting? Like it just seems like there were so many better options for Atlanta, both if they were trying to contend, they're trying to be competitive or trying to rebuild. I would have loved to see Klingon go first. I would have loved to see we'll see the trade down because I think there was probably teams that would have traded up to get that first overall pick to get a guy like Klingon or to get a guy like even Shepard or Sar or someone like that. Like there was definitely value in this draft, you know. And you probably could have gotten Ricochet a bit later on, or could have gotten a guy better than Ricochet. There's a chance he's not even the best like French wing in his class.
A
He's
lot of
just not.
French guys taken in this first
Yeah,
round. I think it was like four or
like
something.
yeah, like personally, I
More.
have Salon above him on my big board. Like I think Salon's a better player. He's extremely raw, but at least there's like upside with him. Like I don't see the upside with Ricochet. I don't see how he can be a franchise changer that you want with the first overall pick. You know, like it's a shame. It's because this is probably the worst year to get the first overall pick if you're Atlanta, but it just they seem directionless. What I
You
do
know
like
what's
though, and I will
interesting?
shut.
You know
What's
what's
up?
interesting? Atlanta got stuck in the year between Victor Wembanyama and Cooper Flag, like two prospects
Yeah,
that are gonna be the number one pick, and they just got the year where
yeah,
it's
super
kind of a
competitive. Yeah,
hodgepodge of like who's gonna
franchise
be number
changers.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's I do like so they did something else in the second round too, which I think was a bit puzzling. They traded AJ Griffin for the 44th overall pick. AJ Griffin was a first round pick 2 years ago. So I think giving up on him this early is kind of insane. But they did get Jurisic, who I do like. I had him in my first round on the big board. I love him as like a potential like he could be a really special guy. I think with his big playmaking wing. Um, but yeah, overall, really bad draft for the Hawks. Like it just doesn't. They seem to be directionless. Kyle Korver and Landry Fields got to figure their shit out. Because it's not good. Like they're in a really weird place. I think they're trying to trade Trae Young right now, but I don't know what even value he has. Um, they're probably holding out for that Spurs pick. Trying to get their pick back from the Spurs from the DeJounte Murray trade. But I don't think the Spurs will go for him because they have Chris Paul and they have Castle. Like, there's no reason for them to go after Trae now. So they're kind of screwed. I don't see a world where they can really. They're looking like the Nets of the mid 2010s. They just suck.
real quick, before we kind of continue along with this draft, before we go off on I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here, but Casey, do you have any thoughts on DeJounte Murray headed to New Orleans, maybe forming, a pretty formidable starting lineup, at least if they're able to keep Ingram?
Well, I think that Pelicans for years, honestly, they've been pretty close to being a contending team. The only problem is Zion. Every year it's like, oh wow, look at the Pelicans, they're all the way up in the standings. And then Zion just gets hurt and then just creates problems. They spout down to an 8 seed and then just everything happens. They can get all this help they want. I like DeJounte Murray. He's a good defender, finish. But it just comes down to ultimately Zion's health. It's just going to be another 8 seed again.
All right, circling back to the draft now. Alex, your Spurs picked at 4. You've touched on Castle a little bit. How do you like the fit here next to Wembanyama, next to now Chris Paul joining the Spurs? How do you think that he can kind of learn under Chris Paul and really fit into this Spurs lineup?
Well, first of all, Chris Paul has made a career out of making big men insanely good, right? And this time, usually it's limited big men like DeAndre Jordan, like Ayton, guys like that, where they have this potential, but he really helps them like actualize it and be dominant. Well, Wembanyama is already really good, and now you're putting him next to one of the best point guards of all time. Even though he's a bit washed up, probably only play like 20 minutes a game tops. It's still Chris Paul, and it's still an amazing mentor, amazing guy. He fits the Spurs culture, who fits what the Spurs want to build. And I think putting Castle next to him, especially Castle, who wants to play point guard and wants to be like a bigger guard, I think putting him next to Chris Paul is like a genius move. I think just because he's going to learn so much, and you're going to really, even if he ends up just being like a point forward, it's going to be such a great fit, and he's going to learn so much from Chris Paul. I mean, like, I love Castle as a fit next to Wembanyama. The shooting's a bit weird, but I think he's definitely had flat. He definitely makes shots. I think his shooting is a bit overhated. I think he can actually hit shots, and he hit it in the Alabama game in the Final Four. That he's shown that when he's left open, he will hit his shots, and I think that's something like he has that potential, and I think he's going to continue to improve in his career. The Spurs have obviously had a good success with making shooters good. And I think overall, yeah, it's a great pick, and I think it's a great fit, and I think that's a guy he's a starter on a championship team, I think, and I think those are the guys you want to surround with Wembanyama, because Wemby's going to be your star no matter what. It's just about getting the quality role players around side him and quality like the guys who can help him succeed, help him.
So originally, I thought that he was a really nice fit next to Rob Dillingham, just because Dillingham could be more of your scorer. Castle's your bigger guard that, like you mentioned, plays that Drew Holiday role. Spurs take him at 8, and then they ship him out to Minnesota for a 2031 pick. Casey, what do you make of this fit now of Rob Dillingham in Minnesota? I don't know if he's going to be a starter day one, but can certainly give them scoring off the bench on a contending team here.
I love that they got him. I think the Rob Dillingham duo is going to be crazy. I think he'll be able to facilitate to Karl-Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, all those type of guys. I love how he shoots the mid-range. He's really shifty, as people say. Yeah, I think it's a really good fit. I mean, you really don't have nothing to lose. You just traded them for a bunch of middle schoolers. Um,
Yeah, that guy just got off the bus that they traded for.
But yeah, I think it's a good fit because I think having him as like a bench scorer to start out, he's going to be able to score day one, I think. But he's obviously going to be very consistent because he's a young guy. He came off the bench in Kentucky. He still has a lot of room to grow and still has a lot of potential. And I think going to a team like Minnesota, which he can have those off nights and they can still succeed and still win, is really going to help him. Especially being with like Mike Conley, you can help him be more consistent. Anthony Edwards, who can help him with his scoring. Like he has so many guys around him who can help him succeed. He's not going to be an empty stats guy, and I think that's something that's really important because if he'd gone to a bad team, he would have just been like a scorer, I think, and nothing else. But I think he'd really like to grow to develop he's like a well-rounded player in Minnesota. And for Minnesota, I love the move too because I think you're not going to be able to add a guy with his potential or with his scoring ability, with how hard capped you are with Gobert, Cat, and Edwards. Like this is probably the last chance really to get in like a quality guy, a guy who can grow into like being an elite scorer like Dillingham. We'll see with Dillingham like how he holds up defensively. But I think also it's a good team for him with how good defensively they are and how big they are. You probably get away with one like not liability but like shorter defender who isn't as he's a bit weak. He's only like I think 175 or something like that at like 6'1", so he's very skinny. But if he can like put on some muscle and get better on defense, he could be a legitimately elite player for them. I think a great fit next to Anthony Edwards in the backcourt.
Yeah, now moving to the 9th pick, Zach Edey. Maybe a shock to some people going in the top 10 here, going ahead of some other players. But I think we can all agree he was the best player in college basketball last year. Brings unique, advantages because of his size, because of his height, because of his wingspan. At least gives you shot blocking ability and a solid post game. I actually kind of like the fit in Memphis. The more that I've thought about it, the more that I've kind of, let this marinate. I like the fact that he's next to a guy like Jaren Jackson who can space the floor while Zach Edey's out here setting screens for Ja Morant. I think that's going to be a great duo. And I think for Zach Edey, I mean, he's going to a team that a lot of people have kind of forgotten that is a contender. I mean, Memphis, when healthy, they're a good team. And last year they just simply weren't healthy. So I like the fit for Zach Edey. I think it's good that he's going to a team that is going to be contending to win. And from the Memphis perspective, you get a guy that's going to give you more defense, going to give you more rebounding, which I know they needed because of some of the injuries they sustained. So I think that he's a good fit for Memphis, and I think it's a good fit for Edey. Now moving on, let's go pick 16. Let's save 17 because you know where I'm going to go with 17. Pick 16 here. Jared McCain, a guy that slid a little bit in this draft to Philly. Casey, what do you make of him joining the process? We'll talk about Paul George a little later, but what do you make of McCain going here, maybe coming off the bench early and providing some shooting for Philly?
I think it was a good value pick by the Sixers. I mean, he has potential to start because he's not really like I wouldn't say a guard where he's a ball dominant. He can catch and shoot, or he can play the two alongside Maxey and George. And they can have a really good team where he could be that kind of shooter role by all those guys and kind of with so much spacing with Maxey, George, and Embiid. He can be that guy that can open up for screen threes and stuff like that. And I think Philly is a great chance to contend this year, and he could actually win a ring as a rookie.
Yeah, for sure. I love Jared McCain as a player. I had him 10th overall to the Jazz. I think he could have gone higher, honestly. Like, I love him as a player. I love him as he's going to be in the NBA for a long time. And I think he's going to be a cold role player and a cheap contract. And that's something that when you're in Philly, now you're going to have 3 max guys. You need that kind of quality of value from your young players. And he's going to be, I don't know about starter day one, but he definitely could be an inline closing lineups for Philadelphia this year. I think he's going to be a quality pro, and I think he's going to be in the league for a long, long time.
Yeah, I like that McCain pick. He was one of the 2 guys where Connect and McCain were sliding, and I was like, all right, just let one of these guys get to 17 so the Lakers can draft them. But speaking of who the Lakers draft, they take Dalton Connect, DK, at 17. He's a guy where I was, like falsely hoping that he would fall to 17, but not actually expecting that he would fall that far. And I don't know. I guess teams saw that he was 23 years old and immediately wrote him off because there's not much more ceiling to be had with him. But what I see with the floor is a guy that can really help the Lakers day one, a guy that can space the floor with his 3-point shooting, a guy that can score at all three levels, and someone that can develop into a 3-and-D player. I think it's hard to take guys in the draft that are immediate 3 players, but when you already have one of those aspects with him, it's the shooting. And then you have the measurables to develop into a good defender like he has with his wingspan, with his size, sitting at about 6'6", good size, really good athleticism. A guy that I don't want to be, making any stereotypical statements here, but doesn't look like a guy that's super athletic.
Sneaky athletic.
He is the highlights. Sneaky athletic. He is the highlights to really back it up. So it was getting to the point where he got to 10, and I was like, all right, well, Connect's probably going to go here. And then it got to 12 or 13, and I was like, oh, maybe he's sliding here. Got to 14, 15. I was like, there's a real chance that he gets to 17. It happened. I was going crazy. I was hyped about it. I know all Lakers fans were hyped about it. So far, the highlight of the offseason, we'll get to that later. But so far, the real only highlight of the offseason for the Lakers. But it was a big one. I mean, for JJ Redick, there probably could not have been a better first pick. I mean, a perfect pick for JJ Redick. He's already drawing up plays literally right after they drafted him because he sees himself in Dalton Connect. And honestly, I see a better version of JJ Redick in Dalton Connect just because of what I mentioned with the size, with the measurables that he could develop into a 3-and-D player. Alex, any thoughts on the fit of Dalton Connect to the Lakers?
It's a great fit because they need just guys who contribute on small contracts right away. He's going to immediately make the rotation. It's really refreshing to see this approach from the Lakers. They usually go for, more prospects. Like last year, they had Shafino. They had Taylor Horton-Tucker before. Like, this is a guy that can contribute day one. And even if, and I think it definitely offsets the Bronny James thing, where you're still having a really good draft, even though you picked Bronny. You're not. I was worried they were going to take Bronny at 17. I think that would have.
No, if that happened,
that would have been hilarious. Now that would have been funny, but I think it's a good fit. I think it's a great fit. I think he's going to play right away. I think he's a great fit next to LeBron, and obviously one of the best passers of our lifetimes, if ever, right? They need unique spacing in general. They need shooting. They need offense, and I think he's a great fit. I think defensively he's going to hold up, and I think he's going to improve. I think he could legitimately be just like McCain, a guy who's going to be in the league for a long time, a quality pro. And I think Lakers got a steal with him at 17.
Yeah, now, before we exit the first round, any other players you felt like slid, any teams that you thought got a steal in the first round besides the teams that we've mentioned?
I would say
okay, go ahead.
The Jazz getting Isaiah Collier at 29. He was a guy that was projected in that 15 to 20 range, go all the way to 29, late first round. No one really expected him to fall that far. I mean, I think
he looks very weird.
Yeah, he's a lot.
That's how weird he looks. He looks very weird. You know what I mean?
No, his head
yeah.
His head is.
It was so weird seeing him, bro. Yeah, he has a fucking
Lego head,
a square head.
It's like a square. But anyway, as a player,
extremely ugly. But yeah,
I love his aggressiveness, his driving to the basket. He was the number one player in high school last year, so I would say he's a lot of potential to be great as a Jazz.
Yeah. And sticking to that theme of these great high school players who slid, I think Buzelis at 11 is an amazing pick for Chicago. They just need upside, and I think Buzelis
a feel-good pick too. A guy that's from Chicago.
That exactly.
Goes to the
homegrown.
Bulls.
Yeah.
Great story there.
Yeah, for sure. And he was he was surprisingly, he was pretty good in Ignite. I think they were a shit show of a team, but he was pretty good, and I think he definitely got better as the season got along. I think he's the best upside in this class. I love his shooting. No, sorry, excuse me. I love everything except for the shooting. I think the shooting, we'll see what happens with that. But the shooting is definitely there. But it's just he's kind of streaky. He was great in high school, but then it was kind of weird, easier shot selection that he had. He loved open shots. And now we see for everything else, he's a legitimate 6'10" who can, guard, I think, pretty much 2 through 5 even. I think I really see that upside in him. He's going to be a great, I think he can play make. He has his little mid-range. I think he could really be a legitimate all-star. He's the best, closest thing to an all-star prospect in this class, I think. Getting him at 11 is a great steal, and then having him in Chicago, which is a rebuilding team, put him next to Giddy, the Giddy party, and then having and then just having free reign to really expand on his game. Thanks to Kobe White, have some spacing on Vucevic, I guess, as well. Like, it's a good situation for him, and I think he's gonna have a chance to really improve his game. And I love the pick for both parties. Is there anyone
Yeah.
else? Trying to think.
I'd say Klingon at 7 was a pretty good
I
steal.
agree. Yeah.
They ran that pick up to the stage. I think the 6th pick happened, and then it was like 15 seconds, and it was already the pick is in. Portland knows who because they have a couple young developing guards there.
Well, the only thing I think is weird about it is I don't know how he's going to mesh with the Blazers. I mean, they already have DeAndre Ayton. They already have.
Aiden's not good though. Like I
mean,
don't really
Aiden's,
give a
you're
fuck
not
about
building
Aiden.
your
Aiden's not
team
future that
around
team.
Aiden.
Big. I mean, like.
Yeah, and he sucks. Like Aiden doesn't try. That's his whole thing. Like Klingon he's a worker. He's a winner. Aiden is not a winner at all. Just the way he plays, he's
I think
just
also
not a guy who wins.
Portland's looking more long term. Let's be honest, they're not going to win anything in the next 3-4 years. So I think having Klingon there, I don't like it for Klingon just because he's going to Portland. But I mean, good pick for the Blazers. All right, now.
Yeah, I mean he's a championship center. I think he's a guy you can build your defense around. He can have a Gobert type of impact. I mean something like a Gobert light, but he's a legitimate 7-2, and I think he's going to be the center of that franchise for years to come.
Now heading to the second round. Before we go to this Bronny stuff, any picks that really stood out? I know we touched on Filipowski going to Utah. Pretty nice draft, actually, for the Utah Jazz. But
Mormons, yeah. Shout out to my boy for getting groomed.
Hey, you want to talk about this?
I guess we will. So he got groomed by his babysitter a few years ago, and he was a Mormon and has had him like indoctrinated into Mormon stuff. She made him like cut off the family. This been under wraps for like 2 years. The Duke like kept a secret. This apparently caused him to slide in the draft because he's very timid in interviews. He seemed very awkward, very like didn't have much to say. And teams found out about the situation. It seems like they just didn't want anything to do with it. In comes the Jazz, which of course are Mormon in Salt Lake City. This isn't exactly gonna be a good situation for him to get out of this. But I hope he's okay. Shout out Danny Ainge for seeing value and maybe making him into the Mormon Kelly Olynyk. He's a great player. It's a shame he's probably not going to be in the best mental state for a lot of his career, but it's a great pick, and I think he could fill Olynyk role like almost immediately that they lost at the deadline. Someone else in the second round I liked is Bona from UCLA. The big Bona going to Philadelphia. I think that's a legitimately good backup center. I think they did sign Drummond today or yesterday, which is kind of a shame. But I thought Bona could play right away as a backup to Embiid, or at least be like a better he could grow to be a better Paul Reed. Hopefully they trade Paul Reed because I don't really think they need him anymore. But yeah, like I think Bona is a great pick in the second round. I also loved Juan Nunez to the Spurs.
Wait, hold on. Before we move off Bona, Casey has a lot of experience watching UCLA basketball.
He loves Bona, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. Underage pitch.
You can't stop watching the Bonas, bro.
He's watched a lot of Adem Bona. Casey, your thoughts on how Adem Bona's game will translate to Philly, and what do you make of him as a player overall?
First of all, as an Adem Bona enthusiast, I was pretty excited about this pick. I wanted
Adem Bona enthusiast.
But I would say he's probably one of the better defenders in this draft. He's a crazy vertical. Like, I'm pretty sure it was like tied for the most in like some record about like him jumping. He's really aggressive, loves to defend, loves to finish. He was put into a role at UCLA last year. He had to play more of an offensive role. Obviously, it didn't really turn out that well, but he can catch lobs. He can dunk really well. The only issue he has is he has a big fouling problem. But as long as he comes off the bench, it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. But it might come later if he becomes potentially a starter one day for any team. That's his only issue is he fouls a lot. But other than that, he has potential to be really good in the NBA.
All right, back to you, Pritch. You can continue.
All right. I guess so I could quickly run through some of my favorites in the second round. Oso Ighodaro going to the Suns, I think is a great fit. They need a backup center or just a center like guy that can really grow and be a quality role player for them alongside their offensive big three. I like Ighodaro just because I think he's a solid like smart big man. I think he's a good fit. I think he's going to be a good screener, good just good overall, just good role player. Good feel for the game, good defender. Like I think they just need guys like that. I think it's a great pick. I think getting that at 40 is pretty impressive. I also like UConn legend Cam Spencer going to Charlotte. No, sorry, excuse me, going to Memphis. They needed. I think that's having they could use another role player. I think he's just a great shooter. He's gonna have an NBA skill from day one. And yeah, we'll see how he develops. But he's a great guy coming off of like handoffs, coming off of other actions. I think putting next to Edey is pretty funny considering the championship game and all that stuff. But I think having a screener is great.
Are you a Mike?
I think he's muted. Oh, well, his mic might have died. All right, well, we'll get back to Pritch. But a pick that I liked in the second round, actually right after the Lakers at 56, the New York Knicks pick up Kevin McCullers, a guy that I think has a lot of potential. Really was just hindered by injuries in college. Or else, yep, I got you now.
Yay.
Yeah, so Kevin McCullers, a guy taken at 56, I think has some potential. Would have been a first-team All-American, I feel like, if he didn't get injured. A bit of, a weird situation of how it played out in the tournament. They kind of said he'd come back. Didn't really end up coming back, but I like his game. I think he has potential, especially at 56. You're just taking flyers. He's a guy that if the Lakers didn't take Bronny at 55, I would have been completely on board with him being there. But a wing that could maybe develop in New York, turn into something. Not expecting a lot from second-round picks, but a guy that could maybe pop, and just fell because of an injury. But I mentioned 55. We have to talk about it.
But hold on. I want to mention one more guy.
Okay.
Quinton Post to the Warriors. Shot 43% from three.
Hey, a little bit of a Pritch comp there. Quinton Post.
Just looking at the stats here, I think as a senior posted 14, 19 appearances, 15.1 points. A little short on the rebounds, but it'll be fine with that. I think he has potential to be the starting center for the Warriors. They don't really have one right now. Last year, Trace Jackson Davis emerged as a pretty good player for them after being selected late second round. But I think this guy could be pretty good. He's probably going to be the big man slash brother.
Big man slash brother. Casey, do you know what school he went to?
We don't need to know that. Hey, what school?
No, I'm not saying it critically. I swear he's a guy from the MAC or something.
Yeah, you went.
I mean, that's probably why he fell. Not a lot of eyes on him in a small school, but hey, I respect the guys from the small conferences. Those are the guys you can get gems from, right? In the second round, not a lot of teams looking at him.
Cyrus Lyceum. Oh, I know. I think he went to Boston College and then maybe he traded.
Oh no, he did go to Boston College. Now I remember. ACC guy.
Yeah.
So you get value, guy out of Boston College falling to the
Warriors. I mean, they drafted Podziemski last year. I can barely remember where he went to college.
He went to San Francisco, which is actually kind of, cool.
I mean, Warriors have actually been hitting on the draft picks ever since what's his name left, Bob Myers. I think this guy this is a great value pick for them. Yeah, that's what.
Well, the Warriors haven't been hitting on anything besides their draft picks. We'll get to that later, since Bob Myers left. But we got to talk about Bronny first. So on the broadcast, we keep talking about Bob Myers. Bob Myers says that he called Rich Paul and he says, in 30 minutes, I'll reveal Bronny's plans. By the way, what was that second round setup that they had? They canceled the second round on the same night as the first round. Just for it to be
because of Bronny
in the ESPN studios with these guys sitting with their families in this New York Seaport studio, and Assistant Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum up there calling the picks from ESPN. Pritch, what did you make of that? I didn't. Oh, and Pritch is muted again. Casey, what did you make of that setup that ESPN had?
It was definitely strange. I don't think I think a reason why they did it was definitely because of money. They didn't want to spend all that money to go out on Barkley Center for another day.
cheap,
go to a
cheap
little-
silver.
You just go to a little,
Adam Braun
little-
struck, man.
little
Adam
studio
Braun's supposed
and
to
just
try
like
to
sit
pay
in
for
all
that.
the chairs and stuff. I think after this year, I think they're definitely going to try to go back to the regular format. They just did it this year just because they wanted to see Bronny, so they can get that money up and get a lot more views on the second round than they did before.
That's actually true. I didn't even think about that. They probably just
This
sold
is just a
us.
money play by the NBA. They knew what was going to happen. They knew what they were doing. They just wanted to make some more money.
Well, you mentioned Bronny. We got to get to Bronny now. Selected by the Lakers at 55. Whether you like the pick or not, it's at least cool to see. I mean, the first father-son duo in NBA history. That's pretty cool. And the fact that it's with one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player in NBA history with LeBron James, makes it even more cool. So I'm not going to talk too much about how Bronny fits with the Lakers because it's more of a projection play in terms of him on the roster. You look at him being kind of a defensive, maybe he develops a 3-point shot. He's a guy that has some quickness, but I don't, see him playing a huge role in the Lakers organization, at least anytime soon. More of a pick just to keep LeBron happy. But at 55 here, there wasn't a lot they could do with the pick, so I'm not hating on it too much. Casey, before I get your thoughts on it, this whole situation with Rich Paul calling other teams and telling them, don't draft Bronny, we're going to Australia. Really interesting because I don't know how many teams were actually interested in picking Bronny.
Yeah.
Rich Paul is just calling teams. Well, he's calling teams. Maybe he just told Bob Myers, hey, we're calling teams, telling them not to draft us. But really, no one was actually going to draft Bronny. What did you make of the whole situation of, them saying they're going to go play in Australia and that it was the Lakers or nothing?
I mean, if he were to play in Australia, he really has nothing to lose because if he's probably not ready as a prospect right now. Likely going to be a G League guy. So if he wants to go and play in Australia, it could probably turn out for him because there's guys like LaMelo Ball who really wasn't even in any draft conversations the year before, played in Australia for a little bit, and he rised all the way up to the third pick. I think they got to stop controlling Bronny and kind of let him do his own thing if they want his career to work out. What else? Yeah, I think Bronny, he's a pretty good player. I think the stats are definitely not. You never look at a player's stats sometimes because if you compare Bronny's stats to AJ Johnson's stats, I mean, what are we doing? He's a first-round pick averaging 3 points a game. And if you look at his highlight tape, it's crazy. He's just throwing down nugs everywhere. So you can't compare Bronny's stats to anyone and be like, oh, this guy's averaging this guy's averaging that. Stats aren't really a thing that you can really compare in the NBA. It's more about what you see in their film, what you see in their game. I mean, I think Bronny's getting disrespected way too much, saying he's not.
Well, let's say this: it's not Bronny's fault. Like Bronny didn't do anything wrong here. He's just the kid that is kind of the face of all this. And I'm not going to question anything about Bronny because all I've heard is good things. That he's a hard worker, and we have to remember too. This is a guy that came back from a major heart complication just about a year ago. I mean that's not something that you deal with lightly. Rich, I think we got your mic back down. It's not something you deal with lightly, and it's pretty impressive that he was able to come back so quick. So I commend Bronny for working hard to get back and just getting out on the floor after that heart complication. So good for Bronny, good for LeBron, good for the Lakers for making history happen. It's funny, they talked with Rob Pelinka after the pick, and he didn't even talk much about Bronny. I mean, he talked a little bit about him, but he's like, man, the Lakers are where history happens. This is a historic pick. Kind of makes it seem like they're just doing it for entertainment. But
I mean, they move for LeBron. Let's be real here.
Well, yeah, it was for LeBron. I mean, everyone acknowledges that. Rich, I think your mic went out again. Anyways, We're gonna get to agency now, and we gotta start with
How
the big
about now?
domino.
Does it work now?
You're good. You're
Yeah.
good now. Yeah.
Okay,
We're
wait.
gonna start-
Let me finish my
Oh,
Barney
yeah.
thing real quick. The broadcast ticket went like Stephen A. went on his big rant about how like this wasn't nepotism, how he deserved this, but no, of course it's nepotism. That's okay. Like, there's no reason. There's nothing wrong with nepotism.
Yeah, I think
Like,
it's okay
it's
to
fair. Like,
acknowledge that it
There's
is
something
nepotism,
in
but
any sport where it's like, oh, it's for history or whatever. But those guys can also they're there because they're what's it called? They're there because they're capable playing at big moments and playing in this big sport. But yeah,
yeah, I agree. I mean, we have to acknowledge it is nepotism, but I mean, with the 55th pick, I'm not, completely flipping out about it as a Lakers fan. And he's a guy that's worked hard to get to this position, so I commend Bronny for doing that. Now we got to get to free agency. If you didn't realize, this is going to be a very long episode because we had to talk about the draft and free agency. But we got the resident Clipper fan on here for a reason. Casey, the big domino to fall, Paul George going to the Philadelphia 76ers to join Joel Embiid, join Tyrese Maxey on that huge, was it 4 years or 5 years? I think it was 5 years?
202.
5 years, 4 years. Yeah, I thought it was 4 years. Yeah. Anyways,
Paul George or Maxey?
No, Maxey was the 5 year. Paul George was the 4 year.
Yeah.
But anyways, the big domino to fall, Paul George, felt like everyone was kind of waiting on that before they were making their decisions in free agency. What do you make of, let's start with the Clippers perspective, the way that the Clippers handled this, not being able to facilitate a trade with Golden State and then not being able to retain him as he goes to Philly?
Well, first of all, the Warriors were so unserious about the Paul George trade. I mean, if you want to really get him, you got to give up something. And a major guy that was a part of that trade was Jonathan Kuminga. The Warriors didn't want to trade, which is kind of crazy to me how you could have – this is your last chance or last few years where you can have Steph Curry and be like championship contenders because he's not getting any younger. If you get hit, they could have had a big opportunity to get Paul George. They could have had a big opportunity to get Zach LaVine. But it just there's no direction to what the Warriors are doing right now. You could see the Clippers are trying to take a direction. I mean, they've signed like what?
Yeah, what do you make of these signings the past couple of days of the Clippers? They bring in Derek Jones Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., Nicholas Batum, Mo Bamba,
Chris Dunn.
a couple solid signings. Chris Dunn. What do you make of those moves?
I mean, honestly, I like it so far. I mean, I think a big guy I really want them to get is DeMar DeRozan. It's looking less and less likely. I think they're looking to sign and trade Russell Westbrook and PJ Tucker. I think that's a good idea for them. But yeah, a bunch of 3D guys, wings, forwards. I think they just need one more scorer. I mean, I'd love the Kevin Porter Jr. signing $20 million, or not 20 million, averaging like 20 a game. Only like he's getting paid very small, like not even that much. It's a great chance for him to revive his career. The only problem is character concerns. He's had those allegations before. And there's one day where he's dropping 50, and then there's another day where he's walking out on his coach. So, I mean, there's certain guys that I like. I like Derek Jones Jr. signing, locked up Paul George in the playoffs. I like so far what the Clippers are doing. I mean, I think DeMar DeRozan's the last piece they need, and they can.
What do you think
reload.
of Kevin Porter Jr.?
What?
What do you think of KPJ going to the Clippers?
He just said he liked it.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah.
you beating his wife or girlfriend?
Yo. All right, let's not.
You good with that,
This
Casey?
doesn't happen.
Is that the Clippers organization you want to support?
All right. Let's move to the Philly side of this
Listen.
now. Okay, Casey, you have anything else?
Well, listen, the Clippers have known for signing these like crash outs. They signed Joshua Primo,
Crash
Ty
outs.
Jones.
Okay, but like, come on. Yeah, it's not a good thing. You should be like proud of that, Casey. Like, yes, we signed the most. Yeah, we signed fucking
You
Miles
give people
Bridges.
second chances.
You think
Second
there's a
chance
second
you.
chance? Miles, yeah.
All right. We got to get to the
Miles
Philly
Bridges
side
next.
now because really all of this is to contend with Boston. I hate to say it, but teams are just making these moves to contend with Boston. Another team made a big trade. The Knicks trade for Mikal Bridges, send 5 first-round picks to the Nets. So now you have this dynamic of you have the Knicks on one side, forming the Nova Knicks. You got the core 4 there, and then you got Philly on the other side, forming this big 3 of Maxey, Embiid, and Paul George. Alex, when you look at these 2 moves, who do you think made a bigger leap to contend with Boston, and who do you think is the biggest contender to Boston in the East?
I think the Knicks, because they're so unique, and I think they're so different. I think Philadelphia, I don't trust Embiid in the playoffs anymore. I just think we've been burned so many times. He's never even got to the conference finals. He just always gets hurt, or his body runs out, or he just stops trying for whatever reason. Like I just don't trust him as a contender. And now you're putting Paul George next to him. Like it's not exactly a playoff team. I think it really depends on what they do around the edges. Again, I like the McCain signing. I like the Bona pick. I like who else did they sign? They signed Drummond. I guess that's a fine backup center. I don't love it, but that's fine.
Kelly Oubre back.
Oh, Oubre is back. Yeah, Oubre is a great signing. Actually, they need him back.
Hold on, don't let Jared McCain find out Kelly Oubre is on the team, man. That might be a scary.
That's a beautiful backcourt right there. No, that's a beautiful lineup. But yeah, the Knicks, they're just so unique. And even though they lost Hartenstein to OKC, I think they're just such a unique team, and they have such a unique identity, with such a defense-first identity. I like their picks in the draft. Picking up Kolek. You see the thing about Kolek where he had like a 7% on like some IQ test or something?
Yeah.
So
is that real?
He might. I don't know, but I thought it was funny. And it would make sense. Like
I don't know if you guys saw the barbecue chicken interview.
I did see. No, I think there's been people that have like trolled like with Kolek saying like he like didn't graduate from Marquette because he like failed all his classes or something. I don't know if it's real. I wouldn't put too much stock into it.
I think he has a great personality to fit in New York. Could get playing time eventually.
Sure. I mean, I think definitely he'd be a good backup.
First round in some mocks, but
who's their other pick in the second round? Because they picked up another guy, right?
Yeah, I told you, Kevin McCullers. I like the pick.
Oh, that was a pick. Yeah, okay.
I think he could actually turn into a pretty good player.
For sure, yeah. And I think right away he can contribute on a rookie deal, which they really need. But overall, like I don't know what they do with Randall right now because Randall's a bit kind of out the way. He doesn't go to Villanova.
He's kind of the odd man out
play
here.
Defense. Yeah.
Hey, so he's the guy. He's the guy that's there. That's like not really with the group. He ain't a Nova Nick. Yeah. He's just kind of hanging out on the side.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens with him. Like, I think they value him more than any other team values him. So I don't think they're going to really trade him because I don't know what they would get in return that was going to help them. So I think you keep Randall and you hope that maybe he works it out. But right now they look like they have a legitimately elite like 8-man rotation that they could throw out in the playoffs. And I think like they could. They look like a really good team. I think if anyone's going to give Boston trouble, it's probably them in the East. Just because they're such a unique team, so many wing defenders, so long pause. They don't have a big. It depends on Mitchell Robinson's health, but they're very small, But Hart plays big. Mikal can guard bigger. OG can guard bigger. Like you can make it work. But yeah, Philly, like we'll see what happens with them. PG, like by the end of this deal, he's gonna really struggle. Like he's gonna be old as fuck by then. He's not gonna be good. But yeah, like I'm like he's gonna be like 38 or something. Like he's gonna not be good. But yeah, I think he's a third option. He's a good fit, and I think Maxey he really needs to become like a 1B to Embiid. I think so for them to have any chance of contending.
Yeah, so the way I look at this is I think New York's better constructed to beat Boston just because of the wings they have now with Mikal Bridges, with OG Anunoby. Josh Hart can get out and guard. They have guys that can really get after guys like Tatum, Brown, even, your Derek Whites, your Drew Holidays. They can get out and guard on the perimeter. However, in a 7-game series between Philly and New York, I think Philly just has too much. You look at the way that Tyrese Maxey really came on in the playoffs last year, turned into a player that I think a lot of us thought he had the potential to become, but we really saw it. And he deserves that max contract extension because he's a guy that could be a 1 in many places. And maybe with Embiid's injuries becomes the 1 in Philly. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But Embiid, once again, is so ball dominant that he's still going to get he's going to get his points. This is a former MVP we're talking about. So you now pair Maxey and Embiid with a 3-and-D wing that, I mean, for a third option, you're not going to find much better in the NBA, arguably the best third option in the league. with Paul George.
Third option over Maxey.
Yes, Maxi's the number 2 still on that team. I believe so. Maxey is the reins. He's the point guard. He's a guy that's shown during the playoffs, at least, he can be that scorer and facilitator for you. So I think that Maxey is still the 2 there, but Paul George fitting in as the 3, I think is a really good fit. I know that they've maybe lost some pieces, but Paul George at the 3, to me, elevates them above New York. However, like I mentioned, I like the fit of New York playing Boston a lot better than Philly playing Boston, just because of all the wings that New York has that can get out and guard some of Boston's better players. Casey, who do you think is the biggest contender to Boston in the East?
I mean, I think it's no question that I think the only 2 teams, or I guess you could say 3. 3 teams I think that contend with them: New York, Philly, Milwaukee. I don't know if I'm missing anyone else, but you're always going to have a chance when you have Giannis and Dame. I think the Knicks are just too stacked to just not be good again. And yeah, these teams are just a lot better in the East than they were last year, where it was like, oh, it's only 1 or 2 maybe good teams in the East, and then everyone else is okay, but they're a really high seed. I think this year for the East is big for them to get a lot of these free agents and really get a lot better. And I think all those teams can compete with the Celtics. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis is going to miss the first 2 to 3 months. I think the only problem with Boston is really their depth. I mean, is there really a lot of guys off the bench with them that can really compete with them? A few injuries to them could really derail their season. And yeah, that's what I think.
You say that about any team, though. Like, I feel like any team, like injuries, you kind of have to like.
Do you think they have a good bench?
Who?
Boston.
I mean, they just won a championship with their bench. Like, Hauser gave good minutes, Pritchard gave good minutes. Sorry?
They won a championship with a starting 5.
No, to be fair,
like,
they're
Kristaps
starting.
got hurt and they still won.
Yeah, exactly. They're starting center.
Yeah, they made it work. Brissett, like, I think there's something there. Like, we'll see if they sign in free agency. There's gonna be like probably 1 or 2 guys who are gonna want to play in Boston. Like, I don't think that's a fair argument with Boston, considering they just won the championship.
I mean,
like, Cornette's back, like he can give minutes. Keita is back. I think
we're hyping up Luke Cornette in the big.
He's 7'2" and can shoot. I feel like that's valuable. You know what I mean? Like in the regular season.
If you have Payton Pritchard as your 6th man, I mean, I like him, but
Hauser. Okay, first of all, he's not 6th man. Secondly, he is very good at basketball. I mean, all those high posts.
Deep Rich.
Oh God, but that's my beautiful boy right there. Don't talk about him. He's getting married soon, by the way. I wish it was me.
Hey, congrats, Pete Rich.
Congrats. Yeah, we love him. But yeah, I think there isn't really a chance anyone can really compete with Boston right now. Like, I think they have, like, I just don't see how many teams can beat them outside of maybe the Knicks.
Last year about the Denver Nuggets.
The difference was Denver was
Casey's gonna segue me in. He already knew where I was going.
Oh,
finish it.
Okay, go for it. Go for it. Now go for it, Adam. You got it.
Nah.
You earned it. You earned it, Adam.
You're gonna make a point. Make your point.
I was gonna say.
No,
this is a lot better than what?
What was he gonna say?
Huh?
Oh, I was just saying, like, you know, we said the same thing last year about Denver. Oh, they're so good. They're so dominant. And then there's a star that comes in like Anthony Edwards and just kind of just shits on them.
Okay, 2 things. First of all, that series was an insane fluke. Okay,
we had the perfect.
2 quick things.
We had the
2 things.
transition.
Okay, 2 things. That series was a fluke, and then also Denver was always a bit more fragile because they didn't really have the same like surrounding system that Boston has. Like, Boston has like legitimate like 4 all-star caliber players plus draw days. Like, they're like the Nuggets, but like even better, like on paper, right?
They don't have an
They might have the same. They just won. Like, I don't see that's like an argument. Like, exactly. So if Tatum gets hurt, they can still survive without him. If Jokic gets hurt, the Nuggets would always credit. That's the thing last year. Like, their on-off was like insane without him. But yeah. Anyway, speaking of the Nuggets, let's go in Adam.
Wow, Fitch threw me the alley-oop.
Yeah, slam that day.
Anyways, there's 2 teams that I enjoyed seeing. Well, 3 teams that I enjoyed seeing the downfall of in this free agency. 1, the Golden State Warriors, of course, seeing Warriors fans crash out after missing Paul George, losing Klay Thompson. We'll get to Klay Thompson. And, Clippers fans losing Paul George, that was great to watch. But, I mean, the downfall of the Denver Nuggets is a team that is a situation that I just really love to see. Seeing Denver after talking all that stuff about being the next dynasty after winning only one ring, and now they lose a guy like KCP, a critical piece. And now I hear rumors that they're going after Russell Westbrook and PJ Tucker. I mean, what is going on in Denver right now? I don't even know what to make of this whole.
I'll be gone. Oh well,
You Adam?
he is out. I had to say this.
Peace to my
Hold
slime.
on, hold on. I'm back. Hold on.
Oh,
I'm
he's back.
I'm back. Just what do you make of what happened with KCP leaving to go to Orlando and the whole situation with Denver kind of losing some of their core pieces here?
I think it's an example of the cap and like how the second apron is really like limiting teams and how teams are really scared of it. There just isn't money for them to re-sign their free agents. Same with like Bruce Brown last year and now KCP. Like Jokic is making these guys great and making them get amazing contracts, but the problem with that is that they can't pay the contracts. So they're gonna have to try and bring more free agents in. They did trade Reggie Jackson during the draft.
I don't know.
To get more money. I mean, you're hoping that guys like Christian Braun, Strother develop. Peyton Watson can kind of fill that role, but you really don't know.
I mean,
it really depends on.
The one move I liked from them was getting Holmes in the draft when they traded him.
Yeah.
Because they finally have that backup big to complement Jokic.
Everything we thought Steve Nagy would be.
There's a lot of underrated free agents that they can get. I mean, when they signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he wasn't really like the big shooter 3-and-D guy that he is.
I mean,
now.
yeah, they traded him for like Will Barton and Monte Morris. I mean, he was good. Like,
KCP was a champion before he got to Denver. Don't forget that.
But he wasn't elite for the Lakers.
He won a chip. He was good for the
starter.
Lakers.
He was not as good as he was for the Nuggets than he was for the Lakers.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, against the Lakers, when he plays them, he wants to turn into the best shooter in the league. But I mean, still good for the Lakers. I wouldn't say that he wasn't anything before he got to Denver.
I mean, I think a good signing for them, I think he could turn into a really good player for them is Gary Trent. I mean, Gary Trent's good for any team. He shot 51% when he was wide open. Great shooter. I've seen him have really good 40-point games, 30-point games. And he could really be good for that team, really for any team. You could say the Lakers or any other type of team. I think it's a good fit for them.
Well, it looks like they're going for Russell Westbrook instead, so that ain't happening.
No, that would be awesome. There's no way. Like,
well,
you have an amazing passer, and then you're putting fucking Russell Westbrook next to him. It's insane. I don't know.
You mentioned Gary Trent, which is interesting because he's a guy I know the Lakers are targeting. I think it's finally time we talk about the Lakers in this free agency. We'll get to Klay Thompson because he's a big piece of that, and I feel like that deserves its own thing because that's the end of the Splash Brothers. That's iconic. So we'll get to that. But we got to start with the Lakers because coming into this free agency period, I mean, everything was on the up. You had Dalton Knecht just fall into the Lakers' lap at 17. You're able to keep LeBron because you drafted Bronny, which made LeBron happy. And now LeBron even says he's going to take a pay cut. When was the last time LeBron said, yeah, here, let me just hand you back some money so that you can get your mid-level exception and have this spot to bring in an impact player. So go into free agency, and there's Klay Thompson sitting there. Valanciunas, I wasn't really big on Valanciunas, but he's sitting there. You got guys like James Harden. Maybe James Harden takes a pay cut and signs for the mid-level. You got a ton of guys available with that mid-level exception. And the Lakers, strike one, strike two, strike three, just struck out on everyone. I mean, they didn't hear, and the next best option they have is Gary Trent Jr. on the mid-level exception. That just screams Gabe Vincent Part 2. I mean, I didn't think it could get worse than signing Gabe Vincent for the mid-level and then him not playing all season. It probably could get worse because they're probably going to spend it on Gary Trent, and he's probably going to suck for them because that's just how the Lakers have operated in free agency the past couple of years under Rob Pelinka. I mean, I seriously cannot believe that a guy like Rob Pelinka can get away with having horrible drafts and then follow it up with even worse free agency periods. Like, at least in past years, he would sign players and then they just end up like being bad. This year, he ain't even signed anyone. His only move was to bring back Max.
You know, a whole lot
Christie.
of nothing.
Shout out Max Christie, 4 years, $32 million. Good for Max Christie. He ain't done a lot the past couple of years.
His brother finna be better.
That was Darvin Scam's fault, okay? That wasn't Max Christie's fault. All right?
Yeah.
Anyways, back to this man, Rob Pelinka, bro. Rob Pelinka needs to leave the NBA completely because this is just a complete embarrassment. You had Klay Thompson, who's from LA. His dad played for the team, and you couldn't even bring him in? How? His dad was literally praying. Said he's praying for Klay Thompson to join the Lakers. And I even talked myself into signing this guy who went 0 for 10 in an elimination game. And you still couldn't get Klay Thompson. He's from LA. He can play with LeBron. His dad played for the team. He's always said it would be cool to be a Laker. And you let him go to Dallas? Not even.
No, but he said that he turned down more money. He turned out 4 years, $80 million to go
They
to
offered him
Dallas.
$80 million. You couldn't convince him to join the team? How is that even possible? How is
Lakers
that
not
possible?
contenders. Like that's what he wanted. He wanted to win rings. Lakers aren't winning a ring anytime soon. With
The
or without
Lakers don't
Klay.
look like a championship team right now.
Under
Well,
any
maybe
circumstance.
They could sign. Maybe they would if they could make good moves.
No,
in
they
free
wouldn't have. Okay, you
Yeah.
think they're better than OKC, Minnesota, Dallas, Denver? I mean, those are the top 4 in the West.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
well, I'm not scared of Denver anymore. You see these guys right now; they're flailing, they're freaking out. They don't know.
Jokic owns you.
I ain't scared of Denver. I ain't scared. Of
Jokic
course, I'm
owns
scared.
you.
Of course, I'm scared of OKC. Of course, I'm scared of
No,
Minnesota.
but do you think you can be better than them? Do you think you can beat them in a series?
No, not currently
Of course.
constructed. Well, maybe
Exactly.
if they made some
You
moves in
never
free
were.
agency, maybe if they actually did
Your
something.
best player is 40
Maybe
years
Rob
old.
off his butt and actually made some moves. Maybe that
Like
would be
who?
helpful.
What would have changed it? What would have changed it? What would have made them a contender? I like this.
DeJounte Murray.
No,
Well,
it wouldn't
maybe.
have.
Well, okay, that makes me mad too. How in the world did Atlanta trade DeJounte Murray for a centered around Larry Nance,
Dyson Daniels.
like 2 first-round picks? They asked for like Austin Reeves, 2 first-round picks, and Rui from us. Like, how is that even comparable? Anyway, that wasn't Rob's fault. But the Cole Klay Thompson situation, the fact that you let guys go for less money than the mid-level exception in free agency. DeAnthony Melton, I would have been happy with, even if they would have brought him in to come off the bench and or maybe even, replace D'Angelo Russell. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Apparently, they're working on trades. They're probably going to be trading D'Angelo Russell for someone that doesn't even make the team better. They're going to sign and trade him for DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. DeMar DeRozan at like 36 years old. Can't even stretch the floor anymore. Yeah, let's develop a three-point shot with DeMar DeRozan. Yeah. I mean, this is just a catastrophic free agency for the Lakers. It's so bad that I think LeBron is actually going to say, screw the pay cut. Give me my money because you guys can't do your damn job. So after that rant, thoughts on the Lakers free agency, where they go from here. Casey, I'll start with you because I know you love seeing the Lakers lose. No, actually, I'll start with Alex. You like seeing the Lakers lose even more.
Yes, I do. Okay.
Thoughts on
I mean, it's a shit show. Like, first of all, signing LeBron's friend to be the coach, that was another thing I think is kind of insane. And now you're kind of following up with that very outside of the lucky connecting, which in reality that just fell to them. Like, it wasn't exactly a great decision on their part. It was just like it was right there for them. Then getting Bronny, his son, why not just take him why not take like McCullough and then sign him as an undrafted free agent? I don't get
That's
it.
what I said too, but I think that there would have been some anger in the Clutch group.
But why does Clutch run the fucking franchise? Like, that's the
Oh
problem.
no, that's
Why
a good
does
point.
Clutch-
That's a great
What
point.
are they gonna do?
I don't know how when or how they let that happen.
Yeah, exactly.
only risk
Until the
LeBron
Lakers
being
get rid of
undrafted-
LeBron and just get rid of Clutch from their organization, they're never going to be competitive again.
Yeah.
They're never going to be able to actually
Well, they
have
did win
you
a
know the
championship.
Lakers.
They did win a championship with Clutch.
Again, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Respect Clutch
Again,
for
but
that 2020 year. But other than
it's not
that,
because of them. It's because of LeBron. Like, I don't think Clutch hasn't really done anything. It's so stupid to me, the whole thing with Clutch. Like, it's just an agency at the end of the day. It's just one guy, Rich Paul. He shouldn't have this much emphasis, like importance on your franchise and on your decisions. It's so stupid to me. Like, the whole organization, the way they run the organization, the way that they go to, the way Pelinka just seems to have no kind of intelligence of his own. He doesn't even know what the fuck he's doing.
Would you say
What?
Rich Paul's a good agent?
Yes, he's a great agent.
Rich Paul's
He's
a
just
great
for a
agent.
franchise. Yeah, he's an
not
amazing
good
agent.
for your team. Yeah.
He's just not. Yeah, you don't want him running your team because obviously his interest lies with his agent. with
He's
his
infamous.
A lot of times,
He's
great
infamous
agents
for
are bad for
players-
teams.
convince
Right?
players
You're trying
not to
work
join the
with former
Clippers.
team.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not.
exactly. The Clippers are
very
cursed. Like
involved.
the Clippers aren't exactly a place you want to go. You know, the
But we
little
still have
bros of LA. But overall, like the Lakers, there's just no path to contend. I think you're insane, Adam, for thinking they could contend. There's no move anymore. There's no way they could contend or be a competitive team. They're a playing team at best, I think. Like I just don't see a world where they're elite in the regular season at all, or if they're even competitive in the regular season. Like I think they're gonna have to. Yeah, what's up?
If there's rumors they're going after a point of attack defender wing that can shoot a little bit.
Doesn't not. They need a whole roster revamp. Like
if they bring in a guy like Jeremy Grant or Cam Johnson or a 3-and-D.
I mean,
there's talks you ship out
for what,
D'Angelo.
Rui and like
I think the only
you ship out
Rui
a
and
first
D'Lo?
round pick.
I mean-
You ship out Rui Hachimura.
I don't think Cam Johnson makes them a contender. Like
the guy that they could go after.
like I like Cam Johnson on a competitive team. They're not the Lakers. If I were to do like a power ranking, I'd say they're like 15 to 20 or something right now. Like I just don't see a world where they're one guy can elevate them. They need to revamp their whole roster. There's no defense on the roster. There's no like shooting really on the roster.
Well, that's why they bring in a wing. I mean, he's not gonna fix all their problems, but that's
exactly.
why they.
I mean,
they haven't got enough moves. There's not enough guys that can even. Until LeBron is on that franchise, they are not going to compete. LeBron, it's just you have to reset the whole team, in my opinion. I don't know why they drafted Bronny. I don't know why they're trying to keep LeBron there. Let LeBron leave. Move the franchise to AD. You fucking, I don't even know what you do. Like, give the ball to Austin Reeves. Help, Max Houston might be a fucking superstar. Just let him play. Maybe connect his like, I don't know. I'm trying to think. It's like Ray Allen. A white Ray Allen. I don't know. Like.
You said White Ray Allen like his coach isn't JJ Redick. You could have just said JJ Redick.
Yeah, but like that's not underwhelming. Like that's just a role player. Like I'm trying to say, maybe he's a superstar. You never know. Maybe Connect is going to connect from free, and he's going to.
By the way, fire number choice. Connect 4.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to what you were saying.
Anyway, the Lakers are just fucked, and I've been saying this for a long time. I said this before the playoffs last year when you were saying, "Oh, they're a contender. They're going to win a ring." No, they are not. They never have. They're a completely flawed team that can't perform in the regular season. They can't perform in the playoffs. They're not a team that's built for the playoffs or the regular season. Their best player is 40 years old. Their second best player barely tries to score anymore.
Why are we hating? Why are we bringing up the age again? You've brought that up every single.
It's a factual thing. He is
matter.
40 years old. There's a limit to how much he can do in the regular season and the playoffs. He can't. So to win a ring, he has to play 100+ games, right? Yes, he has. Of course, he has. He just doesn't play defense.
Like a little bit.
No, of course.
Defense.
You have to take different precautions. He has to guard like the 4.
Exactly.
Guy on defense.
That's your best guy.
Other than that, offensively, no limitations. I don't think. He's not the same guy as Miami.
Stamina. I mean, I think in Denver he was getting tired.
He's still a very good offensive player.
Yeah, of course he is. He's still like a top 20, 15 guy in the league. It's just when you're trying to win in the regular season, you need to have consistency night in, night out. LeBron can't give that consistency.
He doesn't think he's a top 10 guy in the league. Welcome to the podcast, Casey. He doesn't think he's a top 10.
No, he doesn't. How? Okay, let's go through it. You want to go through it right now? I'll do this.
All right, fine. The middle of the podcast. All right.
All right, fuck it. Hold on. Let me get the ringer list so I don't forget anybody.
No.
As he pulls up the ringer, I would like to say.
No, I'm doing the ringer right now just so I don't forget.
I don't need an order. Just give me 10 better players than LeBron.
Okay, fine. So Jokic, Luka, Embiid, Tatum, Curry.
Oh no! Whoa!
See, I'm forgetting guys. Edwards.
Wait.
I said Edwards,
Shea,
Brunson.
You rather have Jason Tatum or LeBron?
Yes, I would. What the fuck are you talking about? Yes. How is this an even argument?
I'm a Laker hater and like.
You're insane, Casey. Casey, you're a child.
Actually, Tatum won a championship.
Tatum is better. Yes, of course he's better than LeBron. He's top 5. He's been first in the NBA last 3 years. How is he not top 5 in the NBA? He's a top 5 NBA player. There's no argument about this.
All right, let's go. Come on. We're at 5. What?
I said you count Shea. I said Shea.
Yeah.
Okay, Edwards. Anthony Edwards.
What?
And I'm trying to go through every team. Yes, I think he is.
You're saying Anthony Edwards is better than Jason Tatum.
All right.
And then I'm trying to I'm forgetting tons of players right now. But like, there's definitely I've done this list before, and I just gotta find my list real quick. Hold on, wait. Giannis. I didn't say Giannis.
Okay.
I mean, personally, like
you just said their best player is a 40-year-old.
Come on, bro.
KD's like 35.
Come on, bro. We ain't giving you KD.
He's better on defense. He's better on offense. What's your point? I'd say This might be a slightly
And
hot take.
KD's team-
I'd rather.
KD's team got swept in the first round with Devin Booker and
It's not about
Bradley
it's
Beal.
him as a player. He's a better player. I don't think it's about performance. He's a better player.
Oh my.
I'd also say I'd low-key have Wemby. I think he's a better player.
All right, bro.
I think
All right, bro.
I
I
would.
Where's the
I'd-
mute button, bro? Hey, he got up. He got up and
I
left. He got up and left.
I think so. I also have Booker. Did I say Booker already? I think. I said
Oh
Booker,
my
right?
gosh! Now we're off this,
Oh
dude.
my-
We can't have this conversation, dude. We
No,
can't have this conversation. We
He's
can't have
40
this
years old and
conversation.
doesn't play defense. What's your
that's-
point?
All right. Who else made a move?
Jaylen Brown, low-key too. I mean, I think you guys have been hating for a while. I think he's better than LeBron at this point.
You are
Halliburton's
lucky
a shout.
fans
I don't know
on this
Halliburton.
episode.
Halliburton.
Yeah, I know he's
You are lucky.
low-key
You are
Halliburton. I don't know. I mean, I'd
It's
rather have
not
Halliburton than
on this
LeBron. I think.
episode. Oh my gosh! You have LeBron at
When
like.
Kawhi's healthy, I'd take Kawhi.
When is he ever healthy? That's not even
I
fair.
agree with that
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of why I wouldn't. But like, when he's healthy at their best, I'd rather have Kawhi at his best than LeBron at his
my
best.
gosh.
Like
All
right
right,
now.
all right. Let's get off this, dude. This is actually making me mad. All right.
Low
Klay
key,
Thompson.
Julius Randle, low key.
You better kick
Desmond
for
Bane?
Chelsea, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Desmond Bane.
Like kick him out, bro. All right.
Low key,
Anyway,
JJ Redick or not could low key take LeBron. I'm just saying.
JJ Redick. You see that edit of JJ Redick? Like,
Yeah,
Like,
I did. But seriously, LeBron isn't a top 15 guy, top 10 guy in the league anymore. Like, he just isn't. He's gonna regress this year because he is. He's 40 years old. This hasn't been done for a reason. Like, it's LeBron. Basketball is a game where athleticism is king, and LeBron is he's gonna regress a little bit. It's natural. It's human. He's not that good. Like, he's not fucking superhero. He's not like, you know what I mean? It's like it's just you're not bullying a team to compete if you have LeBron as your best player. LeBron needs to be a number 2 at this point in his career. He needs to be a guy that can have an off night and can still win without him. If the Lakers need to win, they have to have LeBron play very well, and that's not sustainable with his age and with his physical profile, I guess you could say. Where his game is so dependent on getting the basket. being
I'm
physical.
not gonna lie. I like wasn't listening to what you said after you said LeBron.
Fuck you.
It's like Devin Booker, dude. Oh
I'd
my
rather
God.
yes, but
All
last
right,
year we
bro.
was talking about Booker as like a top,
All
like
right,
as the
dude.
best guard.
You
in the
said
NBA, but
Tyrese
it's
Halliburton
ridiculous.
had a chance of being better than LeBron. Like,
This upcoming season, yeah, I think he does.
I don't know what to say, bro. All right.
Mitchell, I mean
anyways.
Mitchell's a shot.
Klay Thompson. This was not the biggest move of free agency, but in terms of impact on the game of basketball, the Splash Brothers have had arguably one of the greatest impacts on the game of basketball just because of their shooting prowess, what they've done influencing other teams to space the floor more. It's really been, unmatched, really. No one has been able to match their production, their ring production as well, and the championships that they've generated. Maybe a little bit off the back of KD, but we won't say that. A couple rings for them. The end of an era, really. Casey, what do you make of this duo breaking up and Klay headed to Dallas here on a 3-year, I believe, $50 million deal?
I mean, it's definitely unfortunate. The Splash Brothers were arguably one of the greatest impacts of basketball. I mean, everyone wanted to be like them.
Hold on. Greatest duo of all time? Question mark. Greatest backcourt duo of all time, at least.
Yes.
I'd have to think
I'd say
about
so.
it.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to think about it. There's maybe some guys I would say that's better, but maybe not the best duo of all time, but probably the greatest backcourt duo of all time. I mean, Klay's put up some crazy stuff for the Warriors. I mean, 60 points in 3 quarters, 37 in a quarter. It's kind of unfortunate his career ended with him going 0 for 10 to play-in, and that meme just dragging around him every single time you check Instagram. Whatever post it is, it's like, don't forget, Klay Thompson shot 0 for 10 in an elimination game. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate how this happened. The Warriors, we don't even know what they're trying to do. I mean, if they don't start winning in these next coming years, we could see Steph Curry leaving them, which is kind of.
I could never see Steph on another team. That's just like crazy. For me.
Yeah, I mean, like he's been a Warrior his whole career. Do you know how old he is? He's like
pretty old.
he's
He's
getting up to their age. But he's still performing at a high level. He's probably still the best point guard in the NBA. They're just wasting his talents away. At this point, I think it might be if they do horrible this season and they show no signs of progressing, this could potentially be Steph Curry's last year wearing a Golden State Warriors uniform.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to see. Well, okay, I mean, it's kind of cool to see the downfall of the Warriors, but at the same time, they've been the team and the model for the past decade. Really, their run against LeBron, pretty much, from about
LeBron.
2015 to 2019 was nothing short of legendary. So sad to see this iconic backcourt break up, but now Clay heads to Dallas where he'll play alongside Luka and Kyrie. Alex, how do you see him fitting in there?
Yeah, obviously he's going to be a floor spacer. He's probably not going to have much of the ball. I'll be more of an off-ball guy. Obviously, it's a great fit next to Luka because you can't really help off of Clay, regardless of how his athleticism is decreased. Defensively, it's a really bad thing because I don't think you can really survive with Luka, Kyrie, and Clay on the floor, especially because Clay and Luka are kind of similar defenders at this point in their career, where it's about their savvy and their positioning and their kind of bulky build, where the guarding guys usually a bit bigger than them or that threats. Clay's defense, obviously, after the injuries, has really regressed. He used to be like a premier lockdown guy. Now he's more of just an off-ball defender. So yeah, I don't know how that lineup really works because now you're losing. Suppose you're putting him in at the 3 instead of Derrick Jones Jr. And then like who's guarding anybody on that team? Like you're just kind of funneling everything into like Lively and Gafford and hoping like PJ Washington could be your like premier defender. Like it's just not really sustainable, I don't think. And I think they really need to work on they really needed better defense after the loss to Boston, and Clay doesn't really give that anymore. But it still is a good signing, and I still maybe that's a guy that could trade. It's a good contract, a tradable contract. Maybe you move him later in the season or next season or something like that. But yeah, I think it's a good move for Clay. I think this is a chance for him to really compete and to get out of Steph's shadow, have his own team in Dallas, So we'll see.
Yeah, well, with the end of the Splash Brothers, we'll end this episode of the Before the Buzzer podcast. Before we head out, any other moves, any other draft picks you guys want to touch on before we head out on this glorious Tuesday afternoon?
Hartenstein to OKC makes him the
best
team in the NBA.
Hartenstein.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm
pretty sure. Like even though it's an insanely big contract, they have a legitimate 8-man rotation. Like even 9-man rotation. Yeah. They locked up Wiggins and Joe. I mean, that's an insane team. Like in case of Wallet too. Like they can go like legitimate 10 deep and like dominate teams. They like at this point, what's their weakness? Like what are they missing out on? Like they don't have a weakness. They have so much depth. If guys get hurt, they're fine. It's insane to me. They're all young too, so they're gonna develop over the year. They're gonna improve. I mean, if they get the Clippers picks, if the Clippers are shit next year and they get their picks and get Cooper Flag, I mean, I think just fold the NBA at that point. Do like a fantasy draft or something. Maybe kill the Clippers whole team and then have an emergency draft so they can just nerf the OKC Thunder a little bit. But my God, right? Like it's just they're an insane team. They're an insane place. Presti's done a good job. And yeah, it's going down in OKC. Yeah, I think Hartenstein probably comes off the bench, which is kind of insane considering getting paid like $30 million a year.
You think he comes off
bench
the
big man? I think he does. I think he probably closes lineups. I think he closes the games. But it really depends on the matchups. I think
some of this cap is going to start to eat up OKC. I mean, they kind of paid Aaron Wiggins, kind of paid Isaiah Joe. They a little bit overpaid for Hartenstein, but they had to do that for a reason because they needed a backup big. But yeah, I think it's a good signing for OKC. Another signing I want to talk about is Donovan Mitchell re-signing with the Cavs. What was it, 3 years, $150 million?
Huge contract, 3 years, $150. By the way, shout out Tatum too. What did he sign, like 5 years, like $300 million, something like that?
Biggest contract in NBA history, next to the second biggest contract in NBA history.
And that's why you guys see Boston's owners like trying to sell the team. They can't afford these contracts anymore. They're just trying to get rid of them so they don't have to pay.
Somebody's got to pay it.
Yeah. Back to Mitchell there.
But yeah, Donovan Mitchell. I mean, do I see the Cavs winning a championship with as their main guy? Not really. this could come back to bite me later. But I think they have a decent roster, but I just don't really see them getting past the second round. Maybe at best they're an Eastern Conference Finals team. They can sneak in as one of those sneaky teams. But, I mean, Cavs, they don't really have a direction where they're going right now. They're just trying to keep everyone happy and trying to just run it back every year with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. And it hasn't really panned out for them. I mean, last year, it wasn't really their fault because Donovan Mitchell got hurt. You don't know what they could have done. But in the playoffs, it was just Donovan Mitchell doing everything, doing all the scoring, and no one else is doing anything else. And obviously came back to bite him when he got hurt, and they really couldn't do a lot.
Yeah, I think that now that you said that, Cleveland's going to win the championship in 2025, and we're going to clip that so that you look like an idiot. Anyways,
Yep.
that's going to do it for episode 20. The big 2-0. Am I holding it the right way? I don't know. It could be backwards. I'm not sure.
That is backwards. Yeah.
sure.
How's this?
What? That looks like 2. Anyways,
2-0.
on my screen it looks like you're holding like it backwards. Anyways,
28.
That's-
Okay, wait. 2-0. How's that?
there you go.
Yeah.
Now, Casey, you're holding it backwards. All right, episode 20 of the Before the Buzzer podcast. It's a wrap. We thank you for joining us. A bit of a longer episode just because we had to fit in the draft and free agency. We'll make sure that in the future we have more consistent of a schedule so that we don't have to fit everything
Yeah.
in. But
Blame Cheyenne
anyway,
for this shit, bro.
yeah, this is Cheyenne. He's not even here today. We recorded with Casey. But thank you, Casey, for
Yeah.
joining.
Came in as a backup, did my job.
Yeah, he off the bench.
Off
Off
the
the bench.
bench.
Casey's,
Off the bench.
solid Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford type role. And I just bring him.
Casey solidified his role as the 6th man on before. Anyways,
Drop
thank
a comment
you.
if you enjoyed Casey's performance today.
yeah. Hey, give it a rating, 1 out of
Show
10.
some love. Yeah. comment Casey if you stay to the end.
Anyways, thank you for joining us on episode 20. Make sure to follow us on all platforms: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify. I think that's all we have right now. But
Yeah.
have a great day.
OnlyFans.
Thanks
Yep.
for watching episode 20, the big 2-0, and we'll see you guys next time.
2-0. All right.